I am located in lovely, warm and sunny Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Madeline is located in Montana. So we truly do have a global or a global panel here and a global audience, I'm assuming. All right, so maybe in about a minute we'll open things up.
Could do with like the what is it? I can't remember the name of the TV show. Do 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 do.
Oh, Jeopardy! Yeah,
Jeopardy. That's it. Yeah.
I know that was. I saw that email go back and forth with Andrew Lloyd Webber, and you had said, "Can you work in this music?" And I saw his response, which we can't say, of course.
Yeah, he's a bit of a diva.
Yeah. Did you just say you were a bit of a diva?
No.
Okay. Just checking. I wasn't quite sure. Okay, so it's 10 o'clock, and this is the first episode of Ask the Masters. Welcome, everybody. We have myself and Tony from Space 48. I'm with Wagento, and we are going to do a session on what this session is going to be a lot about what we're going to do in the future, but we will cover some Magento topics. So the idea is that we are going to ask questions of a Magento master or a former Magento master, or it could even be some Magento community member. Well, let's just say it doesn't have to be a master. It could be anybody in the Magento space. Just some rules or some guidelines. We do have questions and answers, and I see that already somebody has raised their hands and they're asking some questions. So Madeline, who is our moderator, will attend to those, and we will have a section in which we can answer questions. There is two windows. One is a QA section, and then one is a chat window. The QA part of it is the section we're going to be using for our question and answer, not the chat window. If you want to chat, just to keep Tony and I on task, please ask Madeline, and she will relay the message accordingly to us. And if you see us looking around on our screens, it's because we are feverishly trying to find an answer for something, or it's a question that's been asked, and Madeline is trying to organize that. So let's start. Tony, do you want to introduce yourself and maybe say something about Space 48 and anything else you want to talk about?
Sure. So my name is Tony Brown. I'm the technical director at Space 48. Been in the Magento community for some time now. I've got all the Magento certifications, including Solution Specialist, and I was a Magento Master in 2017. And as I say, I'm from Space 48. We're an e-commerce consultancy and Magento partner in the UK. We do design, build, and strategy for our clients with a we basically want to help support our retailers to become successful global brands. And we're also the creators of the developer conference Mage Titans. So yeah, that's me and us.
Great, and I forgot to mention that we do have a segment called Shameless Pitches. So there is not only are we bringing loads of information to the Magento community, but we're not going to overburden you with our pitches about our own shops, but certainly Space 48's been instrumental in getting this going, and we're with Wagento, which is another agency on the other side of the ocean that helps merchants with any kind of need around the Magento space. Okay, so I think we can move into the next part. Why are we doing this? we wanted to both share some of our, I'm not going to say expertise, but certainly knowledge and time in this Magento world. We wanted to have a place where we could bring together some Magento community leaders and people to help answer questions and to share knowledge in the Magento community. I think in 2016, Magento started recognizing some of the more community members that are more active online and in the Magento space, and they created an award called the Magento Masters. So they've been doing that for 3 years. So both Tony and I have been nominated or elected as a Magento Master. And the reason we're doing this is to have a place where we can talk and you can ask questions to Magento Masters. Now, again, I don't want to say that it's only for Magento Masters. We are going to invite other community members. We're hoping to invite some Magento core team. And we may have more than one person as a guest, but the idea will be that you're not just going to hear Tony and I drone on about whatever we're doing. And everybody knows that eventually I'm just going to start talking about running anyways. And then pretty soon our attendees are just going to drop off and I'm just going to be talking by myself. In fact, Tony will drop off and Madeline, and I'll just be here. Fortunately, I'm recording it so I can watch it later. So I hope that kind of gives you an idea of why we're doing this. Tony, you want to throw your 2 cents or your 2 pence in on why you're doing this?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you pretty much covered it really well there, Brent. We're very passionate here, and I am personally about contributing to the community. And it came about, this idea of a collaboration from UK to USA to be able to in a live setting discuss technologies, Magento features, whatever it would be, but to engage with other people in the community as well, having them on as guests. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes and talking to some really bright and cool, intelligent people out there with some great ideas, and it's great to see them wanting to share. So looking forward to it.
Great. So the way this is going to work, we're going to do some intros, and then we're going to have 2 parts where Tony is going to cover some topics and I'm going to cover some topics in the Magento space. And so on this episode, we are just going to kind of highlight some of the things that are exciting and that are happening in the Magento place. And then with the idea that we're going to have some panelists or some other Magento community members that are going to join us, and then we'll really focus on that topic. So and in addition, after that, we're going to do a QA session, and I know there's been a number of questions that have been submitted, and we're going to help to answer or at least address some of the questions that people have sent in. I will say that we've had a really good response on this, and we don't have enough time to get to all the questions. I think, Tony, we're at about 200,000 or 300,000 questions that people have asked already. I may be exaggerating it a little, but we are in America and we're in the time of exaggeration. So sorry, no jokes. I know that Derek Harlick had told me not to make any jokes, so that's my last joke for the day.
Epic fail.
Yes, epic fail. Thank you. So I think if there's not anything else we need to talk about for general house cleaning or housework, Tony, is there anything else that you would like to bring up now, or?
I don't think so. So I think we were saying we wanted to cover just a couple of topics that we believe are hot topics right now, that we may have episodes basically featuring these topics. So I'm happy to dive into that if you are.
Yeah, let's go.
Cool. So first one up was Magento Shipping, and that hitting release. And we've had personally a client that's already using Magento Shipping. For those that don't know, Magento Shipping is built in to Magento itself, and is powered by Tamando, essentially lowering the barriers to getting integrated with any different shipping carriers that are available out there. But yeah, now it's essentially part of the core product, so making that easier. So that was the first one. Who knows? We may even get Tamando on an episode to discuss that. But on to the next one is Magento Cloud to the cloud. Cloud seems to come into lots of conversations these days, and Magento are there with it as well. You can now have for some time been able to have Magento's hosting solution instead of utilizing another host. This is built on top of AWS, Amazon Web Services, and essentially gives a scalable solution, again simplifying the process of getting involved with Magento, because you've got that single point of contact. We've got customers again on Magento Cloud, and I know Wagento have worked with that, so it'd be interesting perhaps to have a discussion in more detail around that in the future. And then another one that's quite topical is B2B. B2B is a set of modules by Magento that's included with the Magento Commerce, which was Magento Enterprise product, that offer B2B, business-to-business functionality. They're continue to build on that as well, but that's again a very hot topic right now.
So on the Magento Cloud offering, maybe we could talk a little bit about on-prem versus cloud and what people are seeing in there. I know there's a perception that the cloud is like a SaaS, but I think it's important for people to know that the cloud is a PaaS. So it's a product as a service rather than a software as a service. And the distinction there, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're right.
So the distinction is that so this is something that Magento is supporting. They're giving you a place in which you can work, and they're supporting both the infrastructure and the code base. But you can go ahead and modify that code as much as you want, and you can, I know Ben Marks is going to love this, but edit that core. Oh no, wait, don't edit the core, but you could edit the core, and of course, that would be a really bad thing. And I'm going to edit this out later, the part where I said edit the core, but theoretically, you can't do that on another platform that's a SaaS platform. This is a platform that allows you to have both the comfort and the knowledge of that support, as well as having a fully flexible open source product that you can modify as much as you want. There's no restrictions.
Yeah, it's a cool set of tools you put together there. I think developers love working with that platform. It's really, really good.
And so I think the other one you mentioned was the B2B. And I think, again, if we look at the on-prem versus cloud, there is no difference between the two versions. The cloud commerce version comes with B2B, and the on-prem version comes with B2B in the full enterprise package. And it is now called Magento Commerce, not Magento Enterprise. So I think just for people to understand that who knew what enterprise was, that we know that distinction, and that on-prem doesn't mean you have to host it in your office. It means you could go with a hosting company. But the B2B modules, and B2B is it will be a whole show on its own. We will dive into those topics just on B2B in the future. And who knows, I think I have 4 or 5 hours of presentation material just on B2B. We could probably do B2B for the rest of our lives and not get through everything. It is a great topic, and it's a great part of Magento.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So have you got any other topics that you were thinking of?
Well, I have some topics. Are you okay passing the wand, so to speak?
I am.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought the items that I would cover would be Magento order management, the Magento U from a training standpoint, and then there is a newer version of Magento Commerce that is out called Magento Starter. So I'll kind of give a high level of those and how those fit into the Magento ecosystem and how each of those pieces, how everything we're going to talk about is interconnected. So if you haven't heard about it, there is a product that Magento has called Magento Order Management. It used to be MCOM, Magento Commerce Order Management, but they've changed it to MOM. And I think there's that just it is a separate product than Magento, so it's not Magento 2. It's its own platform. The team for Magento Order Management is based in Barcelona, which is where the next Magento Live is for Europe, and it allows you to have all your orders come into one spot. So they call it Magento Order Management, but I would I would call it even more like Magento Inventory Management. It allows you to take all of your, it allows you to take every single point that you have for a sales standpoint. So say you have POS systems, you have multiple stores, you have multiple websites. All these get connected to your MOM instance. And then you can, number one, see all of your orders in one spot, but more importantly, it allows you to aggregate all your inventory across all your endpoints. So say you had multiple stores, you have stores in Europe and you have stores even in the US or Latin America. It allows you to pick and ship inventory. It allows you to aggregate inventory across those locations. It allows you to have separate levels of inventory and safe levels, so you can guarantee that inventory will be there. It does all those things in the back end that tie in multiple endpoints for Magento together. So again, this is a topic that we will do an entire show on, and maybe we'll try to get somebody from Barcelona to be on and dive into it a little bit more. I think as I said that, I sort of sounded like a salesperson. We don't want to make this a salesy presentation. And if you do see that, just let us know that, hey, we're doing too many sales and not enough explaining. This episode is going to be this is more like introducing some of the topics. So the next one that I mentioned was the Magento Starter edition. And so Magento Starter is the same as Magento Cloud, or the Magento, the Magento Commerce Cloud, but it's a way for people to get onto Magento Commerce to have the cloud version with some features that aren't in the full version. So one of those big features would be Magento B2B. But what it does do, allows a merchant to have an entry point in which they can have the support from Magento, the code base of Magento Enterprise or Magento Commerce, and a way to have a path for upgrading. So if you wanted to do that for a year, whatever that time frame is, you could get onto the small business version of Magento, and then have an upward path to allow you to get onto the full version of Magento. So if, for example, you wanted to start with just a B2C site, and then you found, hey, this is where this is fantastic. We would like to move into B2B. It's easy enough to then go to the next version, which would be the Magento Commerce version. And and have an easy migration path. I would also say that even if you were to start with the community version, it's fairly easy. And I hate to use the word easy, and every single developer listening to me right now is like they're wanting to punch me. Nothing
Never
is
say
super
easy.
easy, but
Never
let's
say
just
easy, Brent.
right. Let's just say effort. There's less effort from moving you to CE to from open source to the enterprise version, and I would invite everybody to look at, if they're on one of those other versions, that the Magento Cloud edition is a great option for any merchant that would like to do that. As I'm rambling, Tony, do you have anything? Do you want to chime in on any of those topics?
Yeah, I think the starter edition is really interesting. You know, giving people the opportunity that are at the right level. Obviously, it's got some restrictions around like the number of products you can have in there and how much revenue you can do through it. But really, they're trying to get people access to the platform and the features so that they can start and grow, and then they can progress up to the bigger, more feature rich. The cloud version, the main difference between the starter and the commerce edition is the high availability. The hosting there, they have replication across different zones, so it's, you know, you've got a much more robust platform. Not to say that, you know, the starter one wouldn't be stable or anything, but when you get to that enterprise level, you really want that assurance of high availability if there was some sort of issue. So it's good to see, you know, that they've given another way for people to go.
Right. Yeah. And I think we will dive into some of those topics more in depth as we move forward. And, you know, I think too that we're always interested in hearing what everybody else is interested in. And certainly our goal is to do this every month and to have a guest. And who knows, maybe this will be so popular that Tony and I will do it every week. But for now, we're committing to every month. And this is a community driven effort. So we're listening to you, and we'd like to hear what you have to say and what you'd like to hear about. So the last topic that I have on my list is Magento U. And Magento U is, if everybody doesn't know it, is the training portion of Magento. It's been around for, I think since 2011. In fact, I went through Magento U maybe in one of their second classes. My trainer was, I don't know, these two guys that I've only just briefly heard of, Ben Marks and Vinay Kopp. I'm not sure who Vinay Kopp is, but they were my trainers in Chicago a long time ago that I went through the Magento class. And I tell you that it's very intensive, and that you learn a lot out of that. So Magento U has a new test that's coming out. Well, they have a test for the Magento Solution Specialist for Magento 2. And there is a test that's being released next month for a Magento Developer. And they're also going to have a test that's going to be released at a Magento Imagine for Magento Associate. And the idea is that, you know, the Magento Associate level of developer would allow maybe junior level Magento developers to get accredited to knowing what they know. And certainly after taking a Magento U class, you would be able to pass that test for the Magento Associate. There's a number of other tests that will be released by Magento. We won't go into all of them, but certainly the Magento Developer test, the Magento Solution Specialist test, and the Magento Associate tests are on the Magento roadmap and will be released shortly this year as we move forward. There will be some training also around Magento Cloud. The Magento U program is really ramping up, and we're going to see a lot of really exciting things from that program. In fact, I think, Tony, next month we're going to have Vinay Kopp as our guest.
Yeah, so there's a man who's passionate about training. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to talking to Vinay and learning more about some of the training he's doing. And in fact, our next webinar is going to be directly after he finishes a training. So it'll be exciting. He's going to be all pumped up, and he'll probably be sweating and stuff because I know that they work really hard. And we didn't give him a chance to take a shower, so he'll come right from the training right into the webinar. And we'll have lots of really good questions to ask. So I think, we're moving along. We wanted to try to make this in 30 minutes, but I think we're going to go over. We have an hour scheduled. So I think that covers those kind of 6 bullet pointed topics. We are going to go into Q&A, but I didn't tell Tony that we were going to just do a trivia question. And so Tony and I are going to ask each other a trivia question. We haven't told each other what our questions are. And my question is, on the new TV series Fargo, which is based in Minnesota, where is it actually filmed?
You have to it's not in Canada, is it? No?
Yes, it's in Calgary. Yeah. So I know it's a really bad trivia question, and Tony and I both got onto this and said, "Oh, we forgot our trivia questions." But so Fargo, and everybody in Minnesota does talk like in Fargo. I've had at least 7 or 8 years of coaching on my accent, and I did go to school in Birmingham, which only really ruined my accent even more. So
I went to school in Fargo. So.
Oh yeah, you betcha. Okay, so keeping moving. Tony, what is your trivia question that I don't know yet?
Oh, and that I haven't got. Okay, what is the traditional colour of phone boxes in the UK?
Red.
See, easy.
Yeah, sorry. What are they in Ireland? Of post boxes?
Post boxes in Ireland?
Yeah.
Don't know. Black?
They're green. Sorry. I know. We're already losing attendees, so let's keep moving. Sorry about that. We'll reassess our trivia. All right. So this is the part that everybody wanted to talk about, is our Q&A section. And I know that we have some questions, and Madeline is going to pick the questions and ask us both those questions. And so let's move on to that now.
Okay. So if anybody else wants to ask some questions, you can just click on the Q&A tab, and we'll answer some questions. And we also have questions that were asked in a form or somewhere before we started.
Yeah, so we did field questions on both Twitter under the hashtag #AskTheMasters. And I've taken all those because I've noticed that there's also a tattoo Ask the Masters hashtag. And I actually took all the questions about tattooing, and I'm going to answer those. So Madeline, I'm ready with my sheet of questions that were, just keep moving. Let's go. And you ask us some questions, hopefully not about tattooing.
Great. So I'll start with some questions that we got before we started. This one is from Jurish. And they asked, what is the ideal Magento 2 configurations in the server to handle many SKUs? What is the server configuration and setting recommended for scalability and reliability?
All right, so I'm gonna jump in there and just it's obvious we're gonna have some time ground rules on some of these questions as well, and geez, I think we might have to have a place that we can answer them in more length, because that is fairly an in-depth question.
I'd say
Tony,
so.
I think that if you were to answer that, you would simply say that maybe the Magento Cloud would be the perfect solution for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, scalability is certainly one of the key aspects with Magento Cloud, and reliability, as I said. Yeah, I mean, that's quite a challenging question, as there's many other questions that sort of come about from that. The expectations around the scalability, what traffic levels are you looking at doing? The one thing I would say is that Magento is proven as a platform to be able to deal with very high levels of traffic and SKUs, etc. But there is consideration that needs to be done around that. And as Brent mentioned there, the cloud platform is something that will tick many of those boxes straight away. If there was an obscene amount of SKUs, there may be some customization around the database that needed to be done or something like that. But it's one of those classic depends answers. But if you wanted to get in touch, I'm sure we could, between us, answer that perhaps in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I mean, I think at a minimum, if we were to just look at two front-end servers, and ideally you'd have an admin server and a database server with ideally a Redis server, that would give you what you need from a scaling standpoint. If you're using hardware, you can't scale say an AWS is auto scaling. You'd want to just do some load testing to determine what you need. It is kind of a squishy point because different code bases act in different ways. But certainly just two servers and a database server with a load balancer from a redundancy and scaling standpoint would be a great start. And I'm just going to say that we should have probably read the questions in advance instead of just doing them on the fly. But hey, this is kind of exciting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are you ready for another question?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do one from the chat, the Q&A chat in the thing. So this is an anonymous attendee, and this is the first question that we got. And they say, how do you become a Magento Master? First of all, thank you for the webinar.
Okay. So the Masters program was set up by Sherry Rhodey, and I think she shared that she was inspired by a similar program in another community or something, but she wanted to recognize individuals in the Magento community who were giving up their time essentially to help, support, and connect with other people in the community and the contributions that they were making. So there's many ways that you could do that. Basically, when I've spoken to her, and we've had panels at some of the Mage Titans events where there's been existing or previous Magento masters sharing their contributions, and that gives you a flavor of some of the things that are taken into account to appear on that list. In fact, they've even shared this year the top 50 contributors to sort of widen that recognition, really. And it's something I know Magento and Sherry in particular has been active and moving forward and to showcase people that are doing that, because I do believe they recognise the value of the community, and even at the Magento events, they'll publicise the highest contributors to the community in that local area. So Magento Live in the UK, they put up on the big screen to recognise those people. So it could be, hosting a local meetup or doing a webinar or contributing to the code, writing a blog post, whatever it is you can do really to basically share your knowledge and experience.
Yeah, and I think one of the important points too is that there's no formula becoming a Magento master. I think it's more like this is what you just do, and certainly from my standpoint, I didn't make it as a goal. I think if you maybe you have to have a little bit of craziness in you to commit some of that time into doing it. But personally, my opinion is it shouldn't be your goal that, hey, this year I'm going to be a Magento master, and I'm going to do all these things to become one. I think a better way to look at it is just become passionate about what you're doing. If your passion is Magento, chances are you're going to get recognized, and just, I would say, keep on doing what you're doing. I would also say that Tony and I would also we would welcome questions about, not now, but on the side, about how can we help. If you have questions about things that you could be doing in the Magento community, we would be happy to offer some of those things that would help to raise the awareness of what you're doing. And again, it shouldn't be what we're doing personally. It should be what we're doing for the community. So a great example is what Tony and John did on Mage Titans. Mage Titans is a completely community-driven effort, and it can be taken by anybody and done in any city. And Wagento has done it in 2 cities already, and we've had great success in those conferences. So yeah, let's we can move on. I think we spent a lot of time on that.
Okay, next question is from Rebecca Brockton, and she asks, why or when should retailers choose Magento Commerce over open source?
I've heard of Rebecca Brockton. That rings a bell. Hi, Rebecca. So yeah, good.
Hi, Rebecca.
Again, I guess it's one of these depends answers. So did you say how and when you would pick one over the other, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
why or when?
So yeah, I mean, there's differences in features between the open source product and the commerce product. That has grown over time. They've added more and more features such as B2B into the commerce product. So it really comes down to the requirements and the business needs for the project at hand, whether open source can first and foremost tick many and all of those boxes, or whether there are features of Magento Commerce that are needed. Other differentiating factors are the fact with with commerce, you get the support from Magento as well. But with the commerce product, there are extensions and things you can do to customize it, but then that comes down to who you're working with as well. Whether you're doing the development in-house or you're working with a Magento partner. And then I guess the scalability of what you're looking to achieve. So if you're starting out, typically what we've seen is that it's smaller retailers that would look to the open source product. And we've had clients that have utilized that product back in the day, and then they've grown and then actually jumped up to be a commerce client, so that they're getting all the extra features of that and the support of Magento and what comes with it. So it's a depends answer, but certainly whatever your situation there, I'm sure Magento have made sure there's a package that could be right for you.
Yeah, and I think just a caveat on that, for the win, I've been telling Rebecca that Thursday's always the right day to choose Magento Commerce. But one of the big things that Magento does is they cover the hosting and the code part of it. So another good reason for choosing Magento Commerce would be the fact that you don't have to have a hosting partner and a code partner. And that's not to say that there's not a lot of really good hosting solutions out there, but it does make the vendor's life easier to go to one place. Thank you, Rebecca. And by the way, Rebecca's doing a great series of videos on our upcoming Big Damn Run. So we're excited to start seeing those. And I think Madeline is also going to be doing some videos with Rebecca on the Big Damn Run.
Rebecca and I are doing a side-by-side comparison of our training environments. for the Big Damn Run. So look for those in the future.
Is that bigdamrun.com? Sorry, let's move to the next question. We'll talk about that at the very end. Sorry about that.
Great. So another question, if you guys are ready.
Yes, go.
Great. Jignesh Sorathia asks what the best way to prepare for the Magento 2 exam is.
Ooh. Do you want to go for that, Brent?
Okay, so I am not a certified developer. I play one on webinars, but I don't actually do one in practice. So I think, number one, you need to start working in Magento and get some experience in Magento. I would say that the Magento Bootcamp class that's offered all over the world is a great an essential part in getting yourselves ready to prepare for the test. And then I think collaborating on the Magento forums and Magento Stack Exchange gives you a place to answer some of those hard questions. But for me personally, and a long time ago, I used to do some development work. Doing it is always the best way for me to handle that. Like doing it and then getting to the point in which you can pass that test. That test has a lot of questions that you wouldn't normally think of that are going to kind of challenge you.
Yeah, I know there were some for the Magento 1 developer certifications. There were at least one or two websites to help support, like study guides that helped as well. But with the Magento 2 developer one isn't quite out yet. There won't be anything like that, but I'm sure I'd keep an eye out. People, I'm sure, will be sharing resources like that.
And next month we have Vinay Kopp, who is a Magento trainer.
Yeah.
And that's a great one to ask him. In fact, he's got a Mage 2 TV out that is a whole series of videos, mage2.tv. And we're going to publish show notes after this. So don't worry about missing it. And we're going to publish the show notes as well as the video will be published as well. So yeah, Madeline, next question.
Rafael Correa Gomez asks, I'd like to ask, what are their perspectives about the compatibilities of modules and the Magento 2 upgrades?
Ooh. So upgrades can be tricky. However, it can be greatly impacted by the quality of the modules and the custom code that you have in place. That was always the case with Magento 1 as well. I think there's been a few perhaps lower quality modules out there that have given people bad experiences during upgrades because basically they would break straight away. But Magento have worked quite hard to give us an architecture and visibility of any upgrades they do and the impact they could have on our code. So really it's about working with trusted extensions and developers or solutions partners really to help minimize that impact, I would say.
Yeah, and I think there's two big categories there. There's the upgrade from Magento 1 to Magento 2, and then there's just a regular upgrade within the Magento 2 framework. So the Magento 1 to Magento 2 is a full refactor. That is not it's a, rewriting the code to make it work in Magento 2. There are some tools that allow you to do that, but it is a refactoring of the code. The simple upgrade between, and I used the word simple. I'll have to, I'm sorry. Yes.
No easy, no simple.
I think the versioning of each module has helped us a lot in the upgrade process within Magento 2. So every module has a version, and we can if we're upgrading with Composer or whatever, we can then have dependencies based on that version, and it allows us to have much more control over our upgrade environment.
Yeah. Okay,
next question. I think we're going to probably go till maybe 5 more minutes of questions, Tony. What do you think? And then we'll kind of close things out, and it looks like we'll finish right at the top of the hour.
Okay.
So an anonymous attendee asked, how easy is it to migrate data from Magento 1 to Magento 2? Did we already cover that?
No, that is slightly different. Do you want me to go, Brent? Or?
Yeah, go.
Yeah. Okay. So Magento were nice and provided a tool to help with that. As Brent mentioned, a migration from 1 to 2 in its entirety is effectively a re-platform. But Magento provide tooling to help support that journey, and data is a big part of that, the database. So that tool, it's not like a straight red button that you press and hey presto, you've got a Magento 2 version. There is work to configure the translation effectively, and also it's an opportunity to clean up. Magento 1 databases, particularly with other modules, over time can cause bloat. There could have been extensions and tables in place that are no longer being used, so there should be consideration of cleaning the database at the same time. But one of the really cool features of the tool is that you can execute a migration into the M2 database, and then it can do sort of like a difference or a delta upgrade or migration. So you can effectively keep it in sync with the Magento 1 database, and then the migration takes much less time, so that as you're getting closer to the launch of the Magento 2 from 1, you're lowering that time of switchover, because you're not going to have to do a full database migration in one go.
Yeah, I was going to mention the Delta part of it, I think, is the biggest improvement over the way upgrades used to go. The other caveat is it does migrate your custom data, so you can choose to migrate custom data as well. So that's another key portion of the data migration tool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question.
Great. Do you want this to be maybe the last question and you guys can finish up?
We can do 2 more.
2 more?
Yeah.
Okay. Nita Kanjia asked, would you tell me about GraphQL?
Oh, GraphQL. So GraphQL is what Magento, although I don't know whether this is definite yet, are looking to use for the PWA, PWA being Progressive Web Apps. It's a technology that essentially helps with extracting data out of Magento, like an API. So with standard APIs, you're limited to what data you can get in and out by the definition of it. But with GraphQL, correct me if I'm wrong here, Brent, you can have more complex queries going on, and it gives you flexibility and increased performance there. I've not dug into it too much myself yet. I'm just aware that that is the technology that's basically helping with flexibility around the API layer and being able to empower a progressive web app front end. There are other ways to do it, but I know that's the technology that they're looking at.
Yeah, so and I think PWA will be another topic that we'll go over, and for anybody that doesn't know, it's what a progressive web app is. It allows you to have a lot of that data on your mobile phone, so it sort of caches a lot of that data, and it speeds up your experience on that store. So it's kind of that bridge between a full iOS Android app and a regular a responsive theme.
Okay.
And that was a good answer, by the way, for GraphQL. Much better than I could have said.
Okay, have we got time for one more, or do you want to wrap?
Let's do one quick question. Madeline, pick an easy one. Where's the best place to get fish and chips in Manchester?
Okay, Rebecca Brockton again asked, where would you like to see the community contributing more, and what's the best way for the people to get involved?
Good question.
I'll jump in while you're thinking. I think doing like at the basic level, doing meetups in your local city is a great place to start. Being active in the forums and on Stack Exchange, active on Twitter, on Facebook, and then of course going to the conferences like Mage Titans is a great place. A great place to become active, and I think at the bottom you want to talk to other Magento people, or at least people with similar interests. So going to a conference like a Mage Titans or a Meet Magento or even a Magento Imagine or Magento Live, you can meet those people and start talking, get interested, and then come back to your local city, do a meetup, start a Twitter conversation. There's lots of different ways to get going. And then, of course, you want to have a running event.
Or at least participate in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd always encourage people to sort of contribute in the way that sort of play to your strengths, I guess. You know, if coding is your strength, then get involved on GitHub and, you know, look at the outstanding issues, try and contribute that way. If you're good at writing, get involved in the docs. If you're good at organising, do the events like Brent was saying there. So perhaps play to your strengths first and see where that takes you. But certainly, you know, and the community is going to be better for you contributing in whatever way that would be. So it doesn't have to be big. It could just be you've solved a problem you've seen, replying on Stack Exchange, like Brent said there.
Yeah, we're just finding so many topics because contribution day at most of these events happen, and that's a great way to contribute to Magento code. If you're not a developer, like Tony said, you can contribute on the Magento Dev Docs. So there is a lot of things that you can do, and I think one of the things that you really learn from contributing like that is that when there is an issue or a question, you have to find the answer. And by finding the answer, you learn something about it. And then by sharing that back to the community, you're in effect, you know, reinforcing that knowledge that you have, and then now you've made it the rest of the community. So I think contribution, the PR requests that people can do for Magento. I think one of the slides that I saw at Meet Magento India was, you know, I don't have the numbers here, but a very large percentage now of the Magento core is being done by the community. And a lot of these issues are being solved by the community, which is just fantastic. It's, you know, it's unparalleled in our software that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think Tony, do you want to chime in on anything else, or should we sort of start closing down the shop here? I think I saw the lights flicker for last call, and
Yeah.
If we were in Ireland, I would go and order 5 more pints of Guinness. But fortunately, it's the middle of the day for me, or unfortunately, so we can't do that.
Cool. Yeah. Let's close out.
Tony, why don't you spend like 2 minutes telling us a little bit about Mage Titans?
Okay, so for those that don't know, Mage Titans is a conference for developers, and started in the UK, but has now rolled out to 5 countries, I think it is.
And we'll have a slide too.
Yeah, so certainly we've got events around the world coming up. We've got Mexico, Italy, Spain, USA here, and then actually there's an event on the cards for the Netherlands as well. But essentially it's your opportunity to connect with other developers, collaborate, witness some great speakers sharing their knowledge and experience on stage. We encourage new speakers into the community as well, giving people the opportunity to talk. And these events are all run not for profit. And have a nominated charity for the event, so any extra funds that are raised go to that charity. So really it is a community-driven event to basically help support people. Do you want me to go through the dates, or have you got the?
Yeah. Let me move the slide here. So I just wanted to, our next guest, or our first guest, is Vinay Kopp, and I'm not sure if we're going to have which version of Vinay. We're hoping for the 1980s version that's on the bottom, but the upper one is the more modern, refined Vinay Kopp. I feel like if we get the 1980s version, we're going to have a lot of electric piano and stuff that's going to add some extra flavor to our topic. But regardless of that, Vinay will be our guest next month, and that's March 28th at 11 a.m. Central, 5 p.m. GMT. We also have some dates then moving into the future. So here is our dates for Mage Titans and for some of our other events. And as we go through, we'll try to update this a little more. So March 1st, we have Mage Titans Mexico City, which is happening next week. That's organized by Wagento. March 28th, again, we have Vinay Kopp with us here on the webinar. April 6th is Mage Titans Milan. April 22nd is the Big Damn Run, which is a Magento event that's happened. This is our 7th year. Last year we had 133 people, and I would encourage you to go to that. I would also say that you don't have to run. We will have just a regular tour of the dam if you want to just join us. 8 o'clock on April 22nd, we have buses that leave from the Wynn. We will have a live broadcast of Ask the Masters from Magento Imagine. We haven't picked the date, but we're thinking the Wednesday morning to do that, and that'll be again Space 48 and Wagento live from Vegas. May 16th we have another Ask the Masters webinar. September we're going to have Mage Titans in Texas again for the 3rd year in a row. October 6th is the Netherlands, and November 10th is the Manchester Mage Titans event, which is the world premiere, the world stage of Mage Titans.
It's rock and roll.
Yeah, it's like it is the biggest rock and roll event. And I think that's from that. I don't have any other news to give. I think we have Imagine that's coming up, which is Magento's biggest event.
I just thought of one. There's Magento Live Europe, is it called?
Yeah, in October. Yep, and I know I'll be there. I'm pretty sure I'll be there. In tradition, I am running a marathon on Sunday, October 7th, and then I'm flying directly to Barcelona. And that'll be my 4th event that I've run a marathon and then done the event. So it just means that I can't walk during the event.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Brent. Thanks, Madeline.
Yeah.
So check Twitter because they're going to answer the leftover questions. I put that in the chat just in case not everybody saw it. They're going to answer look for the hashtag Ask the Masters for the leftover questions that didn't get answered.
Right. Yes, and also we'd like your feedback. We'll send out a survey after this to see to get your feedback. We would like to make this we'd like to make this great for the community. We'd like to make it that you learn something from this, and we'd like to make it entertaining. So, if my jokes didn't go over, which they normally don't, just let us know. If you have questions that you would like, or you have a topic that you would like to go over, our next one will be with Vinay. So it's going to be focused on Magento training, Magento coding. We'll be talking about Mage TV, Mage2.tv, which is Vinay's video series. And then we're looking for topics for the next year. And then again, as Madeline said, we will be answering the questions that have come in on Twitter using the hashtag #AskTheMasters. Or is it Ask the Masters, right?
Yeah,
and
Ask the Masters, plural.
We will be tweeting the cryptic responses out all day and all night long for those, as well as continue to ask for more responses and more questions for next month.
Okay.
So, Tony, what is the weather like in Manchester today?
It's pretty nice today, actually. Yeah, sunshine. Not too hot here yet. Still not quite in spring, I don't think. But yeah, it's not bad.
Great. Well, we're at like minus 15 Celsius here in Minneapolis with the sun.
5 Fahrenheit here.
Yeah, you have to do that in Celsius because most people don't understand Fahrenheit.
Oh, negative
So,
15 Celsius.
yeah, so we're at the same temperature. Good. I think that's a wrap, and we will be we're going to just do some quick editing on this video. Who knows? It may just be publishable right after, but we will be kind of looking through it to make sure that we get all the value that you would like, and we will publish it somewhere. It will come out to you, and we thank you for joining.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Yep. And I think next month too, we'll use some of that Andrew Lloyd Webber intro and exit music, right?
Oh, definitely.
Good. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.